Hey, everybody, this is Sid Sexton and my good friend Keith Glines with episode 102 of the Overlap Podcast. And for those of you just tuning in, the Overlap Podcast is a podcast where we discuss and study the overlaps within life, business, family, fitness, all of those aspects of life. And really with the idea that getting better in one helps you get better in the other because there's no compartmentalization in life. How you show up for work is how you're going to show up for the workout and vice versa. Good morning, Keith.
Good morning, Sid. How are you?
I'm doing pretty well, man. It's been in and out a lot. It's, a busy summer, but it's been good.
It has been a good summer.
Is it?
Busy. It's been probably the busiest time. You know, I don't do well with busy.
You do not, and you have been busy.
I have been like crazy busy. I even have to work today on Friday after we get out of the studio.
Well, so do I. So welcome back to the real world.
Yeah. You always work on Friday though.
Man, it's been a busy season for me too. I've been in and out. I know you have, and man, God, last time we were in the studio, I remember saying, dude, it feels like I haven't seen you in weeks. And so
I saw you across the way yesterday as I was coughing up a lung in that cardio workout at 4:30 p.m.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Well, there you go.
Yeah, it was a rough one. Did you do the cardio workout
I did.
yesterday?
I just tried. No, again, so busy. I didn't do it. I ended up working till like 6 o'clock last night. It's just a busy time. I did train jujitsu at lunch, and that threw me off.
All the young guys wanted me. I paired up yesterday with a pretty young Troy football player that said, "Oh, come on and join me in this workout."
Oh, okay.
And, that was not smart.
It wasn't?
Mm-mm.
Okay,
no,
imagine
not
that.
smart at all.
Shocked.
I caught myself laying on my back for about 20 minutes with my daughter looking at me saying, "I have to go," and I just said, "I just can't even get up."
Give me a moment.
Yep, give me a moment.
Maybe we need to get a defibrillator in the gym, just in case.
You probably do.
Man, I don't know what the liability is. Well, so we've both been fairly busy. So we've actually changed up our schedule here and added a topic. And Keith had it kind of well thought out, and it speaks to the season that we're in. And if we are experiencing this, we are assuming that a good portion of our audience is as well. And that is what, Keith?
So our good friend Forrest Durr over at AutoWorks got us all into this EOS thing, right?
Sure.
And one of the things is automate, delegate.
Yeah. Delegate and elevate.
Delegate, elevate, automate. And so we're gonna kind of do all of that today and talk about that. And it's something that I've really been focusing on for the last few years, trying to get it right and trying to find a balance of, where do I automate? Where do I delegate?
Mm-hmm.
Where do I elevate, right?
Yeah.
And so I think we're going to go through just today some tools that you can use, some concepts that you can think on to really determine what you need in your business, and then how to either automate that, delegate that, or pick a person within your organization that can take that over and do that for you. Yeah. So,
and really all of this is driven by the fact that we are extremely busy,
Right.
And so you just get to a point where you have to realize you cannot do it all.
Right. You do.
And so then you have to make a decision at that point.
And we were talking about some of the people in our organizations, that are either Enneagram 1s
or 6s
who are perfectionist types that like to hold on to stuff. And sometimes I think you have to push them to say, "Hey, hand that off a little bit."
Yeah, I do not suffer from this perfectionism anymore. I used to be a little bit perfectionist. You can see how I even write my notes. They've got to look a certain way. But I've if it's 80% right, I'm good with it.
Have you taken the Enneagram?
No, so I'm waiting to read that book all the way through, and then I'll take the test, so I don't like hone in on.
I mean, I'll tell you. I mean, I know what you are.
Oh, okay.
You don't even.
What
You're
am
an
I?
8.
Am I an 8?
Yeah, you're a 5. And so that's where you're going to be a perfectionist in the fact that you think, and this is not a bad thing, but 8s just think they can do it better.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I can probably do it better.
Yeah, and so.
I don't know that I could do it better.
So that's what we're going to talk about today, and I think it's a struggle that all entrepreneurs face.
Yeah.
Is when to take a situation or a project or a product and automate or let somebody else do it.
Okay. So, let's get started on that. And I think it all starts with that flexion point of realizing that you are at a point you cannot do it all. You're stressed and you're maxed out and you're starting to get diminished returns.
Right. And I think that's almost a wrong. So I wish early in my business I would have been proactive enough to not gotten to the stress level.
Sure.
That's where most business owners get to, is they just try to do it all until they're so overwhelmed that where if they could have automated or delegated, it would have been better to do that ahead of time.
Yeah.
Before the stress comes, right?
Yeah, that would have been very nice.
Right. And so I think that point, and you can probably speak to this better than I, is in a service business too. Where do you get to where you just come to the point where you can't do it all? And you were talking about that's one of the reasons that you hired an office manager, right?
Oh yeah. So the very beginning, and I will say, and maybe this is what one of the purposes of this podcast is to help, new leaders, new entrepreneurs, business owners, whatever, flatten the curve a little bit, the learning curve, so they don't have to go through as much pain and suffering. Because most of my good lessons were, hammered out on the anvils of pain. How about that one?
That was so hammered out on the anvils of pain. That sounds very King James.
Yeah. But so you asked about office manager. So, man, and this is most people's story. You get going, you've got one customer, you do a good job, you're constantly looking for the next job, you're looking for it, you get it going, you turn around 18 months later, 24 months later, you've got lots of these referrals from customers, partly because you've probably priced it a little too cheap, and they're going, hey, this guy does a good job, and he shows up, and it's half the price of these people over here, and so you start getting a lot of phone calls coming in, and there's a lot of work. I was running a lot of estimates and meeting them back and going through it and still trying to get the work done and all that, and I started to realize that I started dropping the ball. Things were falling through the cracks. Like, oh, I didn't get back to this customer. Oh, I didn't answer that phone call, and I didn't actually return the phone call for 2 or 3 days. And lots of things that you can start to see are going to diminish the brand, so to speak, your reputation, my reputation. And I was kind of complaining about it because then I would still work on Saturday to kind of catch up, but then Sunday was all the billing and everything else and any bookkeeping, and then trying to get my calendar scheduled for the next day. And if I needed to hire someone, I was thinking about that. So either way, I got to a point where I was like, man, I just cannot do this. This is rough. And I believe I was I know for a fact I was in that ProSalt group. And this is, again, a power of coaching and mentorship and peer groups and things like that. They're like, dude, you have to have an office manager. And I was like, I don't even know what you're talking about. Is that like a secretary? And they're like, well, yeah, kind of, but they're someone to do, the little exercise where you should be doing $50 an hour stuff and list all the things that you do, and then let's start circling the $15 an hour stuff. This was 2005 for 2006 probably. And he was like, answer the phone call, get your cell phone forwarded to the office, set appointments, set the schedule. Let's see, return inquiries about pricing. Do the billing, do the bookkeeping, file the paperwork, all that stuff, and I needed someone, and it ended up, it was scary at first because I'm like, where am I going to find the money to pay someone? That's like $1,500 a month, they were like part-time or something. And it ended up working out. That one delegation kind of got me going, thinking about everything, because it freed me up so much that I was able to just do the stuff that I should be doing, which was selling the work, managing the work, implementing a lot of the work too, just doing it, managing the guys or girls, setting the standards. It was fantastic.
And so for me, this looked more like automation because I had to go out, and I guess you could call it delegation too. So when I started the media company, I was doing the design, I was doing the photography, I was doing the writing, I was doing everything that had to do with a media project. Mm-hmm. And so I don't have so much customer service needs. I have more contractor partner needs.
Yeah.
So should I bring in a new contractor to do the design or a partner to do the design, or should I partner with a service that is already doing what I'm trying to do?
Well, yeah, that actually leads to the other thing. The next delegation I did was I hated sales at first, but I loved the design part of it. But it got the business, and this is several years down the road, but it got to the point where if I sold the job, I started feeling like I was married to the job, and then I wasn't able to do some of the other things like train or, financial assessments and analysis and, fleet and equipment, management, all the things that I didn't have anyone else to do. I could start to delegate sales to someone else. And that was another freeing moment. And then when I gave up like design and in general, oh my gosh, I felt like I'd actually become a business owner. I didn't have a job anymore. I actually owned a business.
If I had highlighted the needs that I had up front, and this is where planning comes in.
Mm-hmm.
If I had highlighted the needs I had up front, I think I would have been a lot less stressed.
Oh, yeah. Well, okay, so walk me through that. Highlight the needs you had up front. What does that mean?
Because we all know what our projects include.
Okay, yeah.
But I would get into the middle of the project and I would go, oh, crap, I'm like drowning here.
Oh, because you're trying to do the design work or something?
I was trying to do the design work, the sales, the everything.
Oh, yeah.
And there's a lot better designers than me.
Oh, yeah. Well, a lot more efficient.
Yeah, a lot more efficient. I could get it done, but it was something I was holding on to for pride. And what I also find out is in talking with businesses and entrepreneurs is a lot of the stuff you're holding on to right now is you're prideful about.
Yeah. Ego is the enemy.
Ego is the enemy.
Yeah.
That you think that because you started the thing that you got to finish it on out, when if you would bring people in to help you finish, it would be way better.
100%. So I don't know where I heard it, and I'm pretty sure I didn't come up with it, but it's the icon syndrome. They're buying me. They need me to do the design. They want me when they're, and it's like, well, no, they just want a solution to their problem, and they feel like you can provide it. Now, if you tell them, hey, my team is going to do this, this, and this, and Jimmy over here is going to be the designer, and he's going to get that squared away. He's going to actually reach out in the next couple of days with any questions. They're okay with that because they trust you, and they trust that you believe in that guy. They're going to be okay with it.
You know what was a hard pill to swallow?
What's that?
When I realized that they like my team better than they like me.
Well, there you go. Yeah, there's a little hit to the ego.
Yeah, a little hit to the ego.
But that's freeing too.
Oh, it's super freeing.
Yeah.
The fact that I don't have to walk on jobs anymore, it's great.
Yeah, yeah.
The fact that, and I do that a little bit still. I'll go be the face sometimes, but the arrogance to think that that they're there for you, it's pretty arrogant.
Yeah, so
they're there for the service that you
doesn't
provide.
need to be the head chef at every one of his restaurants.
No.
He just needs to make sure that they operate within these boundaries, and then he needs to be the face of it, you know,
Right.
and make sure that the vision is sort of moving in the right direction, setting the vision, and then making sure those folks are moving towards that within the guardrails he set up.
Right. I started a new division this year in the academic world. Where we're dealing with colleges, and it was kind of stupid to think that I needed to be the one that like was the face of that. I don't have a college degree, so I'm sitting here with doctors thinking it was necessary for me to go out and find someone in that space that would be respected more than me. Yeah, I own the company. I created the product for the academic world, but there's a lot better people that can be the face of that to that part of my clients.
Yeah, sure.
And so deciding where you either need to delegate or automate is super important.
I agree. I was actually going to go back through and our podcast list here and try to see when we talked about leveling up.
We'll list it in the show notes.
Yeah, but you know, there's a podcast and I that we went through it, and I believe, it's episode 75. If you want to go back and listen to that. So I think, in my opinion, throughout your career as an entrepreneur, business owner, or business leader, you're going to be leveling up. If you're doing well and you're progressing, you're growing the business and all that stuff, you're going to have to go through a couple of iterations of delegation or automation or somehow focusing more of your time on the highest and best use of your time.
You know what got me thinking down this line? In 2007, right when 4-Hour Work Week came out, I read that.
Yeah.
Now, I didn't do it successfully, and everybody that reads the title of that book says, oh, I work 4 hours a week. Well, that's not what it's about at all. It's about how to get your best 4 hours out of your week that you can possibly get doing the things that you are good at.
Yeah.
And so in that book, he talked about a lot of automation processes when it came to and we've been talking about that this week is virtual assistants and things of that nature. So everybody read it and kind of, said, oh, that's not for me. But it actually got me thinking, okay, where can I automate my process in what I was doing? And so since then, I've been looking really at how to automate the process of what my business does to the best of my ability. And for me, that means more outside services. For you probably couldn't do that.
More outside services.
Meaning services that do, for instance, this week, I had a photography project that I did that we went out and we physically took the photos.
Okay.
But it was better for me to send those photos off and have them edited by another service online that does that, right?
Gotcha.
So I had to start looking at what services are out there that have people that are better than I could ever hire to do what I need done in the media world.
Okay. Yeah. There's some delegation there.
Yeah. I mean, just for instance, this is what happened. So we went out and took a picture, and the client did not notice that his button was buttoned on the very top of his neck.
Mm.
And it kind of looked weird, you know what I mean? And so we had gone out and we had done this shoot. Now, it's not our job to look at the butt. I think when someone comes out with a shirt that's buttoned all the way to the top, that's the way they want it, right?
Right.
He didn't realize it.
Oh.
And so he was like, oh, man, I look weird. Can I fix that? And I was like, yeah, we can fix that. But I knew to fix that takes hours, right?
Right.
So where can I look at my process to say, hey, I don't want to give that to a guy, but there's this service that specializes in, like,
fixing buttons.
If you have a yellow shirt and want a white shirt on in a photo.
Oh, dang.
Yeah, there's a service that does that.
Holy cow.
And so it was much better for me to go use that service than try to do it in-house.
All right.
So I think one of the things that you need to understand in your specific industry is look for the people that are out there, because I can promise you there's someone online doing what you need done, especially like administratively designed. Do you need a piece of marketing material designed? There's somebody online that's already doing for your industry exactly what you need done.
Well, and that sort of leads me to one of my points is one of the obstacles on delegation or hiring that stuff out or, subbing it out. We're generally, and I'm speaking in real general terms, but I think this really is the deal, is we're generally trying to sub out things that we really don't like. So in my mind, I think that others who would want to do that, and there are people that love that stuff. It's amazing. I didn't realize, that someone like Jamie wants to sit in an office with the lights off and just crunch numbers all day long, and then take her little 20-minute nap during the day and then eat her snacks and then continue to crunch numbers. I like to do that, but I don't want to do that every day, all day. And I need someone because to do that. And when you finally find someone, you're like, oh my goodness, this is amazing. And who would want to come and clean all the offices and take the trash out? Who would want to fix the freaking button on the guy's shirt? That sounds intricate. I don't want to do that.
It is very intricate. Now, I love, or not necessarily delegating the stuff that you don't like, but maybe that you're not as proficient in.
Yeah, well, there's that too.
Because I like design.
I like it too.
I like moments that I can sit down at the computer, I can do a design, and it's a quick hit for me because it's like dopamine. Because I'm like, I can see it. Because most of the things in running a business, you don't get to see right off the bat.
Yeah.
It's kind of like I like washing the car sometimes because you see the dirt come off the car and you see, oh, it was dirty and now it's shiny.
Mm-hmm.
But there's a lot of people that's more proficient.
100%. Design in particular, man, it was taking me about 25 hours a week just doing design work. And I'm like, ooh, this is a terrible idea.
Or in small business, most people put their assistant at creating marketing materials. There's way better people.
Yeah.
There's way better services online than having the person that's supposed to be arranging your office, keeping it running, doing your marketing or your social media.
Yeah.
Or whatever.
I bet there's some AI coming out on that stuff or something.
There might be.
They can probably pull that together. Okay, so you're going to get to the point where you realize you can't do it all. And some of those deciding factors are you're overwhelmed, you're stressed out. And another one is you start to realize you've got diminished effectiveness. You're just not able to be as effective. That's where I was talking about things start slipping through the cracks. You're missing phone calls. You're missing emails. You're not getting back to people in a timely manner. You're not getting to that job site when you said you were going to, whatever. You've got unhappy clients and unhappy team members. So something's got to change. You need to increase your bandwidth and regain focus. And I think you're going to have to do that every time you level up. Every time your business or your organization gets to a certain point, size, revenue, client number, whatever. I don't know what it is, but you're going to get there. So, this is what Keith and I were talking about. One of the best exercises to figure out what your highest and best use of time is something that EOS uses, and we were actually talking to Forrest about, and you started off with this, is that delegate and elevate exercise. And the elevate portion is to start to relieve your daily, weekly, monthly, quarterly, annual tasks that you do, so you can elevate yourself to be doing and focusing on highest and best use of time, right? And it's simply just a 4-quadrant. It's almost like, is that Stephen Covey's 4 quadrants of time management? I can't remember. But you've got things you love to do and are good at. Let's look and see if we can find it. Things you like to do and you're good at. And give me 1 second. Things you don't like to do and you're good at. And things you don't like and you're not good at. I mean, it's just pretty simple. I think, and I'm pretty sure this is the right way, I'm pretty sure you list all of your tasks in one list. You just think about your day, your week, your month, and you can probably stop with that. Like, close out the month, 1 monthly training, whatever, I don't know, monthly tax report or something, pay if you've got a bunch of service guys working, paying the monthly child support that you have taken in from them on behalf of the state. There's all kinds of things, right? Freaking email, phone calls, calendar, estimating, whatever.
I'll put this on our show notes too, and we'll give this little spreadsheet away.
Well, we better ask Forrest, but we'll do something. But you list all the tasks first, and then you start plugging them into which category do they go. Love and you're great at, like and you're good at, don't like but you're good at, and then don't like not good. And you start with the low-hanging fruit, getting rid of the stuff that you don't like and you're not good at.
And I may add one more, that one that you like but you're not proficient at.
There you go. That's fine. And that could be you like but you're good. I guess that's a little subjective. And you can, and Forrest even showed us his. He's starting to delegate some things off the like and good.
Right.
So,
yeah, he was talking about a virtual assistant.
He was
just this week. So, I think that may be a way to go too.
It's just a good exercise to start putting pen to paper or, fingers on the keyboard and really visualize all the things you do. If you don't, and this is what I've really been kind of focused on over the last year, is you've got to get all that free-floating anxiety out of your head and onto paper and start seeing it on paper, and then you can start to have control over it instead of it eating you up. And that's what we're talking about here. You get eaten up with stress and anxiety because you're trying to do everything. But everyone says, or everyone thinks that there's no way out of it. I can't do that, or I can't find people, or I can't do whatever. And with that attitude, no, you won't. You won't be able to.
So my son works for me, and
shout out Austin.
With me. Shout out Austin. He actually works with us here at the Overlap too, and he does all this wonderful editing and all that good stuff. And so a task that I had him do, that I gave him a week to do, I said, I want you to go out and I want you to find a service for everything that we need. And I want you to get in the process of automating these processes. Every time we have a project come on for media or publishing or any of that, I want to know who does it online better than we do, and how can we automate and delegate to them. And
so you're looking for service partners.
Yeah, service partners.
To be able to sub some of this stuff out.
Yeah, absolutely.
Gotcha.
And who's doing it better than we are?
Yeah.
And who likes to do the stuff that we don't like to do? Yeah. So
if they're in business to do it, they probably like doing it.
It's really changed our world as far as being able to automate the process of workflow for us.
So I think that a lot of that type of, would you say, that would be elevation, but that would be a change in your business is born out of some necessity, but then it starts to get you thinking that there are other areas that you can optimize and start to get more and more out of, so you can get more and more focused on what it is you really need to do. And when we focus, when we focus, we're really able to be super effective. When we're, when you're narrow and deep, you're able to be pretty effective, but when you're shallow and wide, you're just not as impactful. And I think that's what we're trying to do all the time. As you understand your business more, as you understand your role more, you're able to really go, oh, this is what I should be doing. That delegate and elevate exercise is a really good start to get you down that path.
One of the things that helped me with this also is, I think it came out of your time with Rick Miller, was the hourly. What are you worth hourly?
Oh yeah.
Yeah, and looking at, I mean, you even have it.
I created a little sheet.
I know you even have it on your board in your office,
yeah.
right? Is what's $500 an hour work?
Yeah.
What's $1,000 an hour work?
Yeah.
So that also is a great
visualization
and test to what you should be doing.
Yeah.
Because you as the leader should be doing the higher dollar an hour work, and anything below a threshold, and I've set a threshold for myself, in anything below this measurement of hourly work, I'm going to delegate that out.
Yeah.
Even though I may like doing it.
Well, and the only other obstacle I would say, or not obstacle, but pushback on that is, and maybe this is something we need to bring up in the podcast to just make sure we're clear about, is I'm not too good to take out the trash. I will still do that if I see it. But what we're trying to talk about is having a system in place that stuff should be getting taken care of without us having to get upset about, why is no one taking out the trash? I'm the only one taking out the trash, blah, blah, blah. That stuff can happen, especially if you're not thoughtful about how you approach these things, and you just react to it when it happens, and you get angry because you are already overwhelmed and stressed. You see the trash overflowing, and you think, no one cares here in my business. How do I hire people that care? Well, they probably care. They're just not looking at it like you are. And you've got to create a system to give you the results that you're looking for. And if you don't do it, who's going to? Have you delegated that out to someone to hey, I would like for you to create a system that, whatever. But I believe us as leaders lose sight, because here's the painful truth. If you're starting your own business and you're going out on a limb and you're taking the risk, you've probably got a little bit of an ego. I'm making some assumptions here. And so that ego is a good thing, because it gets you off the couch and gets you motivated and gets you going. It gets you to go out in the world and hunt something down and drag it home and eat it. But it can also, the shadow side of that is that you can start thinking that everyone should think like you, and if they don't, then they suck. And that's not the case. Everyone's different. Just the starkest example I've got is Jamie sitting in a dark room crunching numbers. She's just different than me, and that's what she likes to do. I like to be out and be active. So back to the trash thing is, if I want a result, it's my responsibility to create the system that will get the result, and then coach, train, whatever you call it, the people that are in there, find someone that's a good fit for, that loves it, and we'll do it. Now, no one loves taking out the trash, but Karen at our front desk likes to keep things clean. And she will just, if you go, hey, Karen, just every afternoon before you leave, can you just check the trash and take that out? She goes, oh, yeah, absolutely. Well, now it's just done. Hey, the plants in the front lobby aren't getting watered. Would you mind just watering those on Mondays and Thursdays? Oh, yeah, no problem. And now they're doing great. Instead of me getting upset, why does no one, why do I have to do everything?
And I'm not saying that you should delegate, and this is where I've failed some too, is I've delegated and I've automated and then I've just forgot about it.
Oh, yeah,
So
that's a good one.
You've got to keep your feet on the ground also to know the processes that need to continually change. Today, I'm going to do that. I very rarely get behind the camera anymore. Today, you see my camera stuff I brought, it's charging up. I'm going to get behind the camera just so I can refine the process and how we do it.
Yeah.
And so don't delegate and forget, delegate and inspect.
Because why? They respect what you inspect?
They respect what you inspect.
There you go. There you go.
So,
all right. Well, hey, one of the questions we had when we were sort of brainstorming this out is, when do you allow or coach your team to delegate or automate?
ooh, that's a big one. I think giving your team the freedom to delegate is probably the problem most of the time, because when you have team members and you say, this is your job.
Oh, yeah.
Giving them the freedom to say, hey, if this is better for the company, for you not to do and saves us money or creates a more proficient process, you have the freedom to delegate this out.
Yeah, I like to say you need to own the outcome of this. You don't have to actually do the work to produce the outcome, but you have to own it. So if there's an issue with it, someone's going to handle it. If you want to delegate it out, someone's got to choose that. If you've got, if it's not timely enough, someone's got to own that and go, yep, that's my fault. Here's what I'm going to do to fix that. I'm going to make sure that I send them a whatever, I'm going to find someone different, whatever. You got to own the outcome, but you don't actually have to do the work. You also have to own the fact that it's got to fit within the budget too. I mean, I've got to set the boundaries, the guardrails. Right. So yeah, I like that.
And the P&L will show that.
P&L will.
Right.
And that's really my job.
Right.
But
how do you, so when you give your managers the permission to own it, how do you hold them accountable for the outcome?
So usually, it's going to show up in their scorecard, and we're getting into EOS a little bit, but whether you're using EOS or anything else, there should be a scorecard, some sort of measurable that person, especially if they're a leader at a certain level that you're talking about helping them delegate or automate some things out, there should be a scorecard that they're responsible for. And the conversation about delegating or outsourcing or automating something should help their scorecard become better one way or another. And so that's going to come up in one-on-ones or quarterly conversations or whatever management style you have. And you're just helping them see that. And I do think this, and I was actually talking, remember G, that soccer club director?
Yeah.
He stopped by yesterday. Another reason I was probably working late last night, but I think, and this is the deal, I know that my job as a leader is to constantly be moving forward ahead of, the team members, 3 years, 5 years, whatever. And like constantly be reading, constantly be going to conferences. You and I were talking about going something, just gathering information and testing theories that solve my problems. So then when I get those figured out, these people should be coming up behind me, and I should be able to recognize when they run into similar obstacles and have some helpful solutions for them. But I don't get to do that if I'm not having, pretty regular one-on-ones or have a good enough, close enough relationship with them that I see when those things happen. And if I don't have a scorecard or something that they're responsible for, I don't have critical outcomes that their role is they're designed to produce, then I don't have any sort of measure to know whether they need help or not. So that's how I think I do that.
I would say that you need to give your team members the ability to innovate themselves.
Sure.
And a lot of times, and I've heard this from my team members, I thought you wanted me to do that.
Sure.
And a lot of times all I did was want them to just get it done the best they knew how.
Yeah.
Or the best that it could be done. And a lot of times that means it may not be you.
That's in that management style thing that I sent to you, where I'm trying to like get my manifesto out, that not to be crass, but I don't want to hear that. I want to be crystal clear about what I expect from you. I want you to hit these results. You don't actually have to do it, but you got to fit within the budget. I don't want to hear that. Well, I heard you say this 3 years ago. I want you to have freedom, not full autonomy. I want you to work within these guardrails. I want you to be innovative, like you said, to find creative ways to solve those problems that you run into in the process of hitting these results that you're required to hit. I don't know how else to do that other than try to create a statement and then, or something, and then drive that forward in all of our one-on-ones and reviews and meetings and stuff like that.
But you must have a process for them to even understand they have the freedom to automate, delegate.
Yeah. I think I'm trying to affect the culture that way, by having it. I think culture is sort of designed and implemented through story, through interaction, through time, over and over and over,
But that would mean that you have to have job profiles.
We got
job roles.
We got job roles. We got job profiles. We've got, descriptions and everything else. But those get lost a little bit, and so we review them and everything, and even in quarterly conversations. But I think I've been getting my thoughts down on paper, just going right along the same lines of what you were saying, and I'm trying to create that this is my mantra, that this is what is expected of you. You're put here not to breathe air, but to produce results, and you're given a system to operate within. There's your guardrails. There's the outcome and the budget. So let's get them done within those guardrails, and you're great with me if you meet or exceed those.
So give your people the freedom to innovate.
Yeah. Here's one question I've got for you. What can you automate? You bring up automation a lot, and some of it's delegation, but I'm real interested in like automation where it like actually gets done for you without you thinking about. What are some of those things?
Marketing is a great example of automation. We were just talking about going to the HubSpot conference, right?
We were.
You can automate customer emails. You can automate marketing material. You can automate messaging. You can automate when a transaction happens or when an invoice goes out. When an invoice goes out, this happens. An email follows. A follow-up email follows. A call follows. So the automation process of marketing right now is at a level that is pretty exceptional of how you can take a small business and look very massive. And so that's one area that you can automate. I think you can automate your daily task with a virtual assistant. I'm not there yet. I'm looking at it. But I know a lot of people using virtual assistants that are having we talked about just email, just for example, the amount of time email. I hate email.
Yeah, 2 hours a day, man. I've been tracking it. 2 hours a day, maybe more, on just sorting through email.
So I've just automated that process. Now I've chosen to use someone inside my organization to help me with that.
They're just going to go through your email.
I just gave
flag
them
it.
access. They flag it. They flag the emails, and we've been doing it a week. And my email time has been cut to 25 minutes a day.
Mm.
And that's mainly responses from me.
Okay.
Now, there are some lower level emails that I will dictate. They'll call me and they'll say, hey, you got this email. How do you want to respond?
Mm.
But I can do that driving down the road, which is great.
Okay.
And then there's emails that I physically have to sit down and think about to type it out.
Gotcha. So we've got marketing, we've got emails, and in the marketing could be response emails like drip campaigns and things like that. What else can be automated? Is there anything else?
I mean, we're automating distribution right now as far as when our distribution is. We have a partner now that does all of our distribution where we don't have to warehouse and we don't have to print and we don't have to do that.
That's legit.
We're automating all of that. Now that edged into our profit a little bit, but I had to look at the difference between keeping copies of books in a warehouse and having someone ship those out.
That's got to be expensive.
Yeah. And then I had to look at what it costs to do small print runs. And so we're paying a little more per product. We're paying a little more for the shipping.
When you say a little more, are we talking 5%, 12%, 100%?
10% probably.
10%. Okay.
10% total between shipping and product cost.
Okay.
But that
seems reasonable.
But that used to be 20% of our cost.
Uh-huh.
So it saved us 10.
Okay.
If you look at it, if you looked at the automation that way. And instead of doing 7,000 print runs, I can do 500. So sure, we're paying
keeps you from holding on to inventory.
Yeah, keeps us holding on from inventory. So we automated the distribution. So if you're shipping anything out, you may want to look at a warehousing option. Mm-hmm. Someone else to warehouse your products.
Yeah. Where can our listener specifically look for automation type ideas or suppliers or?
I think the first thing I would do is go to industry specific conferences or websites or online conferences. Okay. Because those people are going to be highlighted in those arenas.
The service providers for
the service providers for your industry is going to be there. That's where I would go, because the good ones are typically going to be at those things. Because it's really one of the things I get anxious about is finding a service online and not knowing about it. Right. Yeah, so being able to talk to someone, being able to understand what they do at a micro level is kind of good. So I would say a conference would probably be the best. That's where I have found the best partners.
Okay.
How about you? Where in a service business, where have you automated?
Man, I'm terrible at automation. We were talking about this before. There's no reason we shouldn't have freaking automated emails set up, just confirming your appointment for the next day. We just have failed in that. And that's the honest truth. And hey, by the way, we're doing a podcast on business. Turns out I don't have everything figured out. It turns out I know and have known for at least 2 or 3 years that we should be doing that stuff. And I just haven't executed on it and haven't pushed it enough. It would help the client experience. It would probably increase the number of or decrease the number of client no call no show kind of thing. I don't know what you would call that. And it would be good for everyone. We'd probably sell a few more jobs throughout the year just based on automated communication, and we haven't done it. And that seems to be the best area to get leverage.
And when you look at the actual cost, the difference between hiring someone to do that inside your organization and hiring it out is going to be, you're going to save way more money automating with the service outside.
Yeah.
And when you look at, we talked about going to a conference. When you look at the cost of going to a conference, it's minute in what you can gain from that versus what it will cost you not to have the information.
While we were talking, one of the areas that I thought that could get automated or delegated, depending on how you define that, is if you are a small business, and you're working throughout the day and just have limited access to the phone, but you don't want an office manager yet or someone at a dedicated spot. They've got some really good call centers now. I don't know what you would call that, but like, a group of folks that answer your phones, that it gets forwarded right to them. They'll answer it within 3 rings. That you give them some good information. They can schedule appointments for you. They can take phone calls and messages. They can put them all in an email and send them to you. They can prioritize those things. Like, this is a really upset customer or whatever, They could send you text messages. They could do all kinds of stuff. And you kind of create the parameters, and that's a pretty good delegation or outsourcing. We don't use it anymore, but I have used it before in the past, especially if like a secretary went down and we were like a 2-person office and the other person was going to get overwhelmed. We would just go, oh, okay, well, let's get on the horn this week, get that set up. And by next week you've got the phones kind of handled between the hours of, let's say, 7 a.m. to 2 or something like that. And you can take the phone calls 2 to 4:30 or 2 to 5 and sort of reduce the hours there, but gives you a little bit of breathing room. So there's all kinds of things. You got to start thinking about it. That delegate and elevate exercise, I think, is the first stepping stone is realizing that you can't do it all and realize that you're overwhelmed and stressed. The second exercise the stepping stone is doing some sort of exercise where you're listing all the tasks that you have and starting to figure out what you can delegate or automate.
Good stuff.
It's good, I think. I think this is...
one of the things that I've looked at, or I'm actually doing, is I've automated customer surveys with an outside service.
Oh, okay. Yeah, we still do that in-house. Yeah.
Yeah. So I think
that could be automated.
Well, yeah, sure.
Every time they get a bill or something.
Well, they're way better than me.
Yeah.
Like at calling or sending emails or whatever, asking my customers. So when we finish a job now, I just have a service that sends an email, an outside service, and just kind of says, hey, how did we do?
Every time you get off a flight, your Delta flight, it might be, you're getting to your next, flight. You're automatically getting a message or a text like, how was your Delta flight from Pensacola to Atlanta?
And you're talking pennies.
Yeah.
I think it cost me 25 cents.
Yeah.
For an automated email when I send the survey company.
Yep.
Hey, we finished this job. They send an email and it says, and it makes us look way bigger.
Yeah, well, and you're asking for feedback. And everyone likes that.
Yeah.
You could automate that and also drive Google reviews and everything else that, that's how people get to 5,000 Google reviews. They're focused on it and they've got it automated. They make it easier for the customer. They reduce the friction that it takes to go and, give a review. Here's the link right here. Oh, well. Well, this is good stuff, man. And hopefully it's timely for the listener. It's certainly timely for us. And hopefully some of the lessons that we've learned over the years, it helps you maybe relieve some of that stress and get you back to being more focused, give you some bandwidth.
And this is one of those things that we don't have figured out yet.
No.
So we'll let you know as our journey continues.
We might have a delegate, elevate, automate update. Ooh.
But I'm gonna put some of the tools that I'm currently using in the show notes this week, so you can just begin looking there. And I'll do the general ones, not the industry specifics.
Sounds good. Well, thank you all for listening. Thank you for being a part of this journey. Thank you for listening. Thank you for running your small business. It's like 80% of the America's working population works for a small business. Now, small business is defined by 200 or less employees, but most of that is like 50 or less. There's something like 58% of all people work for 50 or less organizations. So that's really the heart of this podcast, is to speak to those folks out there with the graphic design t-shirt company with just 3 people working there, or the fence contractor, shout out Chris Drogmiller, or all the other folks that are out there trying to just, do good work, and you're probably pretty good at the work that you do. You're just getting tied up with some of the business details. Hopefully this really helps you.
Chris was just at your place, huh?
Yeah, he was. Yeah.
That's cool. Man, his new website.
His website is great.
His website for a fence company is killer.
Yeah.
Go check his website out.
And he does great work, so it's a good representation of him.
Yeah.
All right. Well, we better get going. Thank you all for listening. Thanks for our sponsor. Thank you to our sponsors. Please support them. If you support them, you're really supporting us. And speaking of supporting us, if you would, please subscribe, rate us, give us a 5-star review, and share our podcast with some other folks that you think that might benefit from it. That would be helpful, and that would be appreciative.
Thank you.
Anything else?
Nope, that's it.
All right.
Peace.